The Leader of the Opposition.
The government loves three-word slogans, so the opposition's got one to suggest to them: hands off superannuation. Yeah. What on earth was this government thinking when it made this decision to put the interests of a few mining companies ahead of 9 million Australians, ahead of 3.2 million small businesses and 1.3 million families? It is how this government rolls. But in a year of stupid and short-sighted decisions by this government, in a year where they've broken so many promises, I would submit to the Parliament of Australia that today and yesterday, as the news of this dirty deal between the government and Palmer United Party has emerged, I believe that this decision is the stupidest, most short-term decision I have seen this government make, which will have a generational impact. And no doubt those opposite smirk. And why wouldn't they? Their superannuation's fine. The problem is this government and these MPs, they do one thing for themselves, and yet they ask 9 million Australians to do something else altogether. This is, without a doubt, one of the most catastrophic decisions of whom we will see affect this generation. I mean, well done, government. No one in our wildest imaginings, when we thought about the potential damage this government could do, could imagine that this government would take $150 billion in retirement savings from Australians in the future. The immediate decision to freeze superannuation by keeping it at 9.5% for the next number of years, according to the Financial Services Council, will cost $128 million. What an arrogant treasurer we have. What a cigar-chomping, out-of-touch, blowhard treasurer we have when he would declare, oh no, it's not $128 million being gone. Does this treasurer think he's so smart that he knows more than the modelling of the Financial Services Council? It was truly one of the funniest moments in an otherwise disappointing day when the Treasurer in question time says, I haven't seen the assumptions behind this modelling. Treasurer, we've not seen any of your assumptions behind this hastily cobbled-together deal. The effect of this decision is a disastrous effect. And when we hear this government talk about what it all means and it's going to give money back to people, someone who's aged 25 years old, earning on an average income, will be $100,000 worse off. This mob opposite screamed like cut cats about the carbon price. These guys have gone to town and committed a cost impact on Australians, with the effect of which will be felt for generations. And of course, what do they do to show their priorities in this effect? They give 16,000 people who have millions of dollars already in their superannuation, who earn in excess of $100,000 in interest. That's right. There are people who earn over $100,000 in interest alone. These people opposite want to give them a tax break. Why didn't we think of that? And then we see, though, beyond the cuts to the school income, the school kids bonus and the income support bonus, we actually have to look at the generational impact of this decision is deeper than even the immediate effect. It goes to one of philosophy. These people love to give a lecture about being lifters, not leaners. If you believe them, they're into thrift, they're into accountability, they're into the good old-fashioned work ethic. They want Australians to work hard and save. They're always complaining about debt. So what do when they philosophically are committed, apparently, to thrift and saving? They damage the single best institution in Australia for savings. Shame. Tony Abbott said in 1995, he said that compulsory superannuation is a con job. He just wants to give the money back. We see them undermine universal access to Medicare. We see them undermine equitable access to universities. Now they're undermining the great good dream of ordinary Australians to have enough money when they retire. I mean, and when they talk about we've kept our promise, oh no, they haven't. This is most certainly an adverse change to superannuation, and they want to talk about cocks crowing. I tell you what, their roosters would be hoarse, because 14 times the Prime Minister said there'll be no adverse changing. They would have laryngitis with the amount of untruth that spills from their throats. And they are attacking one of the best. Be careful, say nothing. They would attack one of the great.
The member for Herbert is not in his seat and may not interject.
They would attack one of the great savings vehicles of Australia. We know we're living longer, and that is a good thing. But we know healthcare costs go up. And what does this mendicant, generation-wrecking government choose to do? They are denying people the financial wherewithal to have enough money in their accounts to pay for their healthcare in retirement. Oh, they love to talk about infrastructure. If infrastructure could be built by words alone, then these would be the Crane Kings. But of course we know that infrastructure is funded by superannuation, and they are starving Australia of infrastructure funding by starving superannuation funds. Right. But what I particularly find galling in what they've done is that they have fed the beast of minority parties publicity-seeking with no interest in the long term of Australia. Now, I get they've got to do deals. I understand they do some horse trading, but never would I imagine that they would put on the chopping block Australia's great superannuation system. They are strangling the superannuation system and starving it of resources. But when they talk about it, what is the deal they actually got? They've managed to get the mining tax off the back of 9 mining companies, and the deal they got for it, 9 million people having their superannuation frozen. I wouldn't send this mob to buy a litre of milk at the milk bar. They'd end up selling the house on the way through. And they talk about wages. Getting a lecture about workers' wages from these people is insulting. What they say in their puffed-up, blowhard manner, Tony Abbott, I must concede, he has the height of a rhinoceros, or a sense of humour that no one has yet discovered, where he declares that he is the workers' best friend and giving them money. Let me be clear. Let me be clear and let me remind Australia. The Liberal Party opposite, all of them, have never supported wage rises for workers. So be very careful. When you hear Tony Abbott promising a wage rise for workers, it's time to panic. Put the money in the shoebox, because these people do not know. They think manual labour is a Spanish tennis star. They've never backed in Australian workers. And then what they do is they say we're going to back in wages. So this is the real story of the dirty deal done cheap by these people. What they first of all say is we're not going to have Australians save for their retirement. And they said we're going to get wage rises for workers, as if anyone believes that. The real reason, the only thing they've done here, is they've given corporate profits a kick-along, because without the savings, and we know they don't back wages, the only people who benefit from this decision is some corporations who will increase their profits. And that is the essence of the Palmer-Abbott deal. Who wins in this deal? Who wins by losing a mining tax? Mining companies, including Palmer. Who wins in this deal if you don't have to pay increased superannuation? Mining companies. They don't have to pay more in their wages, and they don't have to pay more in their superannuation. This mob opposite favour offshore profits over onshore savings. Do not ever again, Prime Minister, talk to us about mandates. You have no mandate to wreck the superannuation system. You have no mandate to lecture the Australian people on debt when in fact you are discouraging them from saving. They have this audacity, this stupid short-term government. What they are doing is they've got superannuation in their sights, and they are freezing it and they are wrecking it. Why should 9 million Australians retire with less money than they otherwise would have? And what I find particularly galling, getting a lecture from the Prime Minister of Australia and the Treasurer of Australia, is none of their decisions will hurt them. They make a decision which hurts 9 million real people, 3.2 million small businesses, 1.3 million families, and there is no skin in the game from that mob opposite. I say to the government, you've made super an election issue, and we will win that fight.